Hello, everybody. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about data quality and that it's vital for business success. I'm one of the co-founders of a company that's working in data quality automation called XBert. A bit about myself and my sort of background. I guess I've sort of been running my own business since my early 20s. Background's really in advertising and marketing. I sort of started a marketing agency when I was, I think 24 years old. That exploded and it was super highly successful. And I had, was sort of the flavor of the month for many years. Lots of FMCG clients throughout Australia and Asia. Grew a team to about, I think, close to 40 at one stage. And that was did that for about 15 years. Highly successful times, fun times, and also hard times. Running a business isn't easy. And I guess where I am today is born out of sort of losing that business or closing that business down, and sort of finding some pain in business to sort of get to where I am now, is actually having a great new fun time and a better time sort of building what I'm building out now, pretty much ensuring that we're not sort of, or we're enabling other businesses sort of not to go through potentially what I went through, all those risks. So fun times from what I'm doing now. So data quality is vital for business. I might just share my screen. So just sort of put together a few things today. We'll sort of run through. I sort of want to run through, what is data quality for your business, sort of how can you use it, how data quality sort of comes about or doesn't come about. Show you some information on some files that I sort of took a sample of files, and we've got some stats there that I sort of want to show you. It's quite interesting, and then just some key takeaways. Okay, so check. You can see my screen, guys. Just double check. Okay. So what is data quality? I googled it last night. So just give me the real easy one, right? So it's data quality is the measure of how well suited a data set is to serve its specific purpose. So the purpose of our data today is financial data, and how do we make smart decisions from it? So measures of data are quality. The data quality are based on characteristics such as accuracy, completeness, consistency, validity, uniqueness, and timeliness. And a really simple key fact for business success is, we want to generate growth to sustain the business and grow. We want to manage revenue well by making smart, informed decisions based on confident answers and quality reports that we're sort of getting from our finance teams. We'll talk about sort of when we're getting those reports as well. So the big question is, you're making all these decisions on your data. It's can you trust this financial data to make the smartest decisions for your business? And I think going back to sort of, what is data quality, it's sort of like ask yourself these sort of questions, like when you're reviewing your data quality and you're reporting, like ask yourself, when was your data last updated? Like how complete is it? How accurate is it? How consistent is it, and how valid are all the entries in it? Are they, for completeness, I'm sort of talking about, has everything been reconciled by the time you're sort of reviewing the reports? Are there any bank statements lines sort of missing? So, and how accurate is it? What do you do to go out of your way to make sure that data is accurate? What internal processes have you got set up within your business to make sure that the things that get entered into your books are as they should be? For consistency, are the methods consistent? Like who puts the entries into your books that you're making these decisions from? You know, are they following the same process each time they do that? And are the same people doing that? Valid, you know, are things business transactions, right? So, you know, a lot of people sneak in things that aren't necessarily business transactions, and that's sort of all well and good. What you want to try and do best for you and to be profitable, or, you know, use your money wisely. But those type of things can distort your reports when you're trying to make decisions on what you're actually going to spend money on and in or hire for. And, you know, has it been sort of checked? Like, is there any fraudulent activity going on? Okay, so think about who manages your bookkeeping data, right? Your financial data. Like, is it you? Do you have an internal team? Do you have an external bookkeeper? Does that external bookkeeper have a team of bookkeepers that all work on your books? You know, does your bookkeeper outsource your work? Okay, so there's many sort of different ways people manage the books. You know, I remember trying to do it myself for many years, and then you get someone in to do it, and then you grow and you get someone else to do it, and then you start to go, okay, well, that person can't get to my work on the time I want it, so a whole range of things can sort of happen in there, I guess. And if you are trying to do it yourself, like, how qualified are you to do it? Do you really know what you're doing? You're just getting in there and bashing the keyboard and reconciling away. Like, do you really have time to do it well? Like, do you really have time to do it well? Like, should you pay a professional to do it? You know, is that professional that you paid actually qualified? And is that person that you trust to do it, are they human, right? And I think that's sort of a big question, you know, are they human? And I think, and when I say human, I sort of say, well, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of transactions going through books and things every day. It's very hard to, you know, make sure things are accurate, done timely. We can't expect to get these things all right all the time, and, you know, people are finding different ways to send in fraudulent data to you all the time. So, you know, for a human to keep on top of that, it's just not possible. I could sort of show you some examples of sort of what we find in people's data. So who's giving the information required to your finance team so they can do their job? I think this is quite an important thing to talk about. It's like, as a business owner, do you have time to check all that information that's been given, right? So it could be that, you know, you've got account managers sending in invoices to your finance team. You know, you might have multiple account managers working on one client. You might have staff giving expense claims into your finance team. You know, what's the process there that they're actually being given receipts and things like that when they're checked off and paid for? You know, what are they actually for? You know, you've got those bills that arrive by email and they're just flipped onto the bookkeeper to sort of process. You know, are they being checked for GST, ABN statuses, right? So are they really registered for GST? There's a lot of fraud and things that happen through people using other people's ABNs. I guess it's sort of like, you know, it's simply that. It's just, is there garbage going in? Because obviously what's going to come out is garbage reports, and they're going to be sitting on your desk, and, you know, you're making smart decisions from them, really not knowing if the numbers are accurate or not. I guess everyone sort of gets in this whole mentality trap of, oh, she'll be right, you know, I pay a professional. I can tell you it sort of doesn't always sort of work out that way. So data quality, okay, so what's sort of the worst that can happen, you know? You know, maybe not much. Maybe you'll find something here and there. But, you know, it might be one day that you sort of, you view your reports, you know, you do the good old debtors and creditors check, you know, business looks good. It's a nice gap there. I'm going to go hire some new staff for that big job. Now I've got money that's due to land. Hasn't landed yet. It'll land. It'll be right. Then you sort of like think, oh, that job I employed the staff for, been working on that for a few months now. How come that hasn't been paid? Okay, I'm looking at invoices that have gone out for that. Doesn't even have a purchase order number on it. Okay, so who's done that? I'm sort of running through the books and I'm looking, why doesn't that reconcile to my bank statement? Okay, so essentially some bank statement lines missing. What's going on there? Staff members about to leave, and you sort of realise, hang on a minute, I haven't even recorded their long service leave. Why hasn't that been set up? Why didn't I check that a year or two ago when that employee first came into my business? Why can't I see a liability for that in my liabilities? And then you can look at areas of your books and go, geez, I'm spending a lot of money in that area. I didn't really think I was spending that money there. I might have to dig in there. And all these things added together just start to make your reports go, they're just not making enough sense to me. So it's time to sort of, you dig in, you start having arguments with your partner, you're questioning your bookkeeper, you get a lot of stress, you end up exhausted, and next thing you know, business is over, right? So that's my true story of a lot of things that sort of happened, right? So I can talk about a few of those things in detail when I go through some of the facts that we sort of find in data, but that is literally the worst thing that can happen, right? So data quality automation is something that I think is definitely needed in business. I mean, it was something that I needed that was never available at the time that I went through that, and that's sort of why we've gone ahead and built the solution. So you think it'll never happen to your business. So what I'd like to do today is sort of give you a bit of a look at some stats on what's been found in a sample set of 3,000 accounting files. This is a bit of a mix of 3,000 files. There's some small files up to some multi-million-dollar files. And I don't obviously know who's managing the books. Is it the business owner or part bookkeeper? Our product that we've sort of built out is for bookkeepers and accountants. However, we actually did build our tool for business owners to begin with. It just sort of made sense to go to bookkeepers and accountants, because they help us get out to businesses a lot easier. But sort of after talking to a lot of bookkeepers, I guess there's like 70, probably 70% tell us that 70% of the files that they manage are one way or another touched by the business owner, right? So with all cloud accounting these days, there's a lot of business owners trying to sort of save themselves a buck and trying to reconcile these things. At the end of the day, they're making a big mess for the bookkeepers to clean up. They may not mind that because they can charge out for them, but they're also too trying to run a business, and they've got to come up with strategies to be successful and to attract new clients, and they sort of get stuck down these fixed fee routes. So a lot of them run a fixed fee business, and I sort of question whether or not they're actually getting the value they deserve. When you sort of see the mess that can be created in files by business owners. Okay, so I want you to imagine having an audit automation technology, finding risk in your books, and providing a potential 1,000+% return on your investment using this technology. Right? And it's doing it while you sleep. All you have to do is connect your accounting file to this. Okay. So here we have a little bit of a sample set here. Our system sort of it's got risk types. We sort of look at, bookkeeping anomalies, duplicates, fraudulent activity, overdue cash risk type things in payroll, things in tax and GST, and sort of unusual activity that happens. That could be, what does that look like? It looks like that. It's never looked like that before. And that could be how much you paid a bill for. Maybe someone accidentally threw an extra zero on $1,000 bill that would have gone out as 10,000. So unusual activities, that's an example of that. So we look at this 3,000 files, 92% of these files, so that's what, 2,800-ish of these files have data quality risk issues in them. When I drill down into that, And that's just a 1 year period. Over a 1 year period, 92% had issues, right? So on average of those files, there was 103.6 risk alerts that were generated on the data quality per file. Now, on average, that risk added up to $900,000 per business file, right? So I want to be clear. So when I talk about risk and potential risk, it's money that is at risk. It's money that is affecting your decision making because you don't know if you'll ever find it, or you may find it late, and you may find it at a time where you've just made a decision and then realize that you haven't found it, right? So that's a pretty alarming statistic, that the data quality in the books right now of files that get loaded in our system is that high, right? So obviously that 900,000 will fluctuate, down to small businesses will be a bit smaller, but it could just be 1, 2, 5 things in one of those smaller files that is a big amount of money. It could be a fraudulent piece of work, or it could be someone stealing money out of your own business. So I'll continue with a few stats. So we've got, when we sort of look at tax and probably GST and ABN risk, more importantly, 79% of these files have risk issues in them, right? So on average, each file over a year has $77,000 worth of risk in each file, right? So if I drill down into some of these alerts, so there's a lot of alerts here. I've just pulled a few key stats out of these. So 30% of the bills raised in the accounting files to pay GST to, or to unknown suppliers or cancelled businesses, have a risk of about $10,000, right? So there's $10,000 worth of things that get raised in your system to pay out that you don't even know whether or not that person's registered for GST, right? So these are bills you've entered into your system, you've got GST on them, you're ready to pay them, right? So we're flagging that before you pay. So there's $10,000 on average a year someone puts into their system. Now, after that, there's still 66% of people actually paying GST to a supplier that isn't registered for GST. They've paid it out, right? And that's on average at about $4,300. There's 25% of suppliers have bills with different ABNs found on the attachments, right? So there's a lot of software out there that pushes attachments into your cloud software. That goes in, gets reconciled against your contact records, and boom, you've reconciled that item. What's happening a lot of the time in there is that they don't match up. People are complacent, maybe they don't check and match it up, or the ABN's been read wrong by the other piece of software. So we look at trying to do a cross check of those sort of things. And when we look at that, 25% and an average of $43,000, right? It's $43,000 a year in people's files about these things. Now, a lot of this comes from fraudulent activity of people using, sending in invoices that are not valid. What else have we got? So we've got 68% of large spends with contacts. So they don't even check the ABN at all. So they're just spending money, not even reconcile it, not even putting an ABN on the record. Even they're not even interested in finding out whether or not GST has been should be paid to that person. 10% of payments made are to cancelled businesses. 10% of the files have got payments made to cancelled businesses. So we're actually checking the ABR register, and we're seeing if they're deregistered, and we're also checking if they're checked. So invoices are turning up in systems, and money's going out to people that actually deregistered. They're not even registered. And then there's a little one there. There's 1% of expenses are in your books that don't have attachments or receipts, right? So they could be expenses from your employees. But when you look at that risk there alone, it's not much, but there's someone there. There's a few people there. On average, there's $95,000 worth of risk in there. So what's going on there? You really got to dig deep into those transactions and find out how they came from. When we look at potential bank detail fraud or just bank statement lines missing, is 38%. 38% of files out of that 3,000 have got an average of $101,000 worth of issues there that they needs to be looked at. 33% of those files have bank statement lines missing, right? So who's deleted those bank statement lines? Is that an error? Is someone actually deleted on purpose? Is the spend money bank statement line transaction being deleted as well, right? So there's a sign that something's, not right. It needs to be looked into. 9% of files in a year saw bank details change in their suppliers. I guess that's something that you don't really think about too much, but when someone asks you to change bank details or an invoice comes back in, it's got different bank details than you've already got stored on the record. That's something that certainly should be checked, and I always recommend that if that's a supplier that you use regularly, that you give them a call and make sure their bank details have changed. 8% of files that we looked at had an employee that shared their bank details with a supplier, right? So that's a lot. So I can tell you a few stories there. I mean, bookkeeping. Recently, we had a bookkeeper sign up, run our toolkit over their data files. A new file, run the data quality report, saw that little alert pop up, then went and had a look at that actual bank detail and that supplier name and realised hundreds of thousands of dollars have been siphoned out to that supplier over the years, right? So that the previous person managed the finances of that business were literally just skimming money out of that business for years, right? And he never found those things out. He never found it out. It was just the way it was just tricked into the books. It just looked like somebody normally paid that he thought he paid. Payroll risk. So simple payroll risks can be, we've got 20%, 26% of files that where super liabilities don't leave the balance sheet when they look like they should, when they're due to go out. That's an average of about $17,000. There's 11% of files we've looked at have had employee entitlements not being recorded at all. So that's the last thing we want to work out. Again, just like sort of long service leave entitlements, you don't want to have that creep up and bite you at a time where business might be in a bit of a downtrend and you've got to pay people out and not even know about that. 23% of files had to be told 6.5 times that their employees' leave balances were over 4 weeks. So this sort of stuff is great to know in your data, right? Like that's a big liability when you've got a lot of staff member creeping over 4 weeks. I mean, a lot of people have different policies, or they're not cashed up, they're not so concerned about it, or they don't want their employees to take holidays. But in my time, it's always good practice to make sure, one, you reduce that liability by making staff have their holidays and give them a bit of a break at the same time. I think it's really important. But that liability on your account is something that isn't a smart move. We also had 17% of these files that were sort of raised. We raised a few times that your junior employees had birthdays, and the reason we do those type of things is that you've got your whole award wages that you have to adhere to, and it's very important to check that because often they're not being checked, and you should just be diligent in checking those to remain compliant because they'll also come back and bite you. Duplicate things in your files. It doesn't. I wouldn't say it happens a lot, but you can see there's 48% of files have duplicates go through them. On average, about $5,000 a year, sort of going out of each one of those files. Some people might get $100, some people might get 50 grand, right? So it's I can tell you a really painful story of one that went out for me for $250,000, and I didn't realise it was paid on a duplicate invoice the month prior. $250,000, big blue chip client, used to sort of do big projects. We'd pay 50% up front and do another 50%. Had 2 account managers working on those files. One account manager's away. I don't think we've sent out the invoice for the 50% up front. Better send it out. It goes out twice. I'm off making decisions to get resources or spending money on spending money on the goods or services that I might need to outsource to service that project, only to realise, one, the job never had a purchase order on it. Two, I thought that money was going to land anytime soon within their payment terms, and it just never did. So that is something that I've learned the hard way. And obviously when that happens, and it's coupled with other things, like the things that we're looking at now, you can get a real spiral of events that just made you go, why did I make that decision last month, right? And this is what data quality automation is all about. It's about bringing things to the surface now, not having to wait a month, and knowing these things are up to date and you're alerted to risks regularly, and not at a time where you think everything's fine and it isn't. Just other things on those duplicates there, 14 files raised had sent out duplicate invoices that they thought money was owed to them by accident, and never was, because 13% paid 5 duplicate bills a year, right? So they paid $9,000 a year on average, and they shouldn't have, right? Are you going to be able to get that back? Yeah, maybe. How long is it going to take to get back? Not sure. When am I going to need that money? Now? Am I going to get it now? Maybe not. All things to think about with data quality.
Troy, just wanted to ask a quick question. So do you guys work closely with non-for-profit organizations as well?
Yeah, we've got some non-for-profit sign up. I'm not personally deeply involved with those sort of guys, but yeah, I definitely know that there's, all the bookkeeping services that we sort of use have got non-for-profits within them as well.
Okay, I think so. One of our members, Daniel, is actually here from Mecca. He's a non-for-profit organization, and he went through some tough times with a bookkeeper / accountant that was not that great with their numbers. I thought I'd mention it because this looks like a really great tool to have for non-for-profits, as well. So, Daniel, I think you should consider this, but I just wanted to quickly bring that up, just so that you're aware of it, and maybe set up another time with Troy.
Yeah, definitely. I'm taking notes. I'll be reading that after as well.
Yeah, I'll get your details then and we'll have a chat.
Jeez.
Reporting and data quality together, right? I guess one of the things that we see a lot of is different account names recorded against a regular transaction. So think about, I spend money on printing, it always goes to printing. How come it's ending up in travel? How come it's ending up in events? What's it doing there? How am I meant to make smart decisions there? And when we drilled into that data, there's an average of about $40,000, per file that sort of ends up coded in wrong areas, right? So if they're not coded right, you're looking at reports and you're going, I can hire staff for my event because events make money. Or, I spend too much money in printing, I'm going to change my printer. Or maybe you've got money in printing that doesn't belong in printing, and your printing's fine. You're going to go and waste a whole bunch of time looking for new printers and negotiating new rates based on that. Because all you're doing is looking at that top overview report, right? So it's important to sort of ensure that things are being coded correctly. I guess when you've got multiple teams, managing your books, things can follow different processes. It really comes back to that importance of having that same process for who's managing your bookkeeping team, so you all understand, where stuff should be coded, and then, you use a professional or take advice from your accountant and set up that chart of accounts and be strict with it and don't let people add to it and things like that. So after looking at that, those numbers in there, how comfortable do you feel making business decisions on your data, right, without knowing? That's sort of a big question, right? So, you might be sitting there going, I'm a good, that whole should be right mentality. The company's profitable, it's good, right? But you always want more money for something. So I'll put it to you, do you think data quality automation is a nice to have? Or do you think you cannot afford to not have it? Claire, what do you think?
Sorry, was that for me, Claire?
Yeah, that was for you.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like I wouldn't want to be like doing anything wrong without even knowing it. I feel like at the moment I probably don't have an understanding of my finances as much as it seems like I should. So definitely something I need to look into, I think.
Yeah. It's just that peace of mind, like it's right. So we might not find anything in someone's file in a month, but the next month we might find a big lurgy in that file that is a real business killer. So sort of, back to that return on investment. So like think about, is an investment of maybe $100 to $1,200 a year worth spending if it alerts you to risks in the thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars? Right? I think we can sort of agree that it's a bit of a no-brainer. Right, and that's the reality of this tech these days, and plugging in files is that's it. That's all, as little as it can cost you, right? So I think we can agree that that's probably a good investment. So I sort of start to sum up here. It's like, this is sort of when my business sort of went down, I scribbled this up and went, okay, well, what's a framework that I would set up my next business for success, right? And this is now our product framework we built, right? So we built this product now based on that framework, and I think to successfully run a business, I think it's really important to make sure that you've got your good advisors around you, and that you're all on the same page and you're using tools together. I think it's really good that you have that great relationship and trusted relationship. So it's really important that business owners, bookkeepers and accountants, right, because they're all doing sort of separate jobs and they're all working together. They're probably not collaborating as a group as good as they could. So we've sort of built that tool so they could. So the whole idea is that, if you build in audit protection, risk detection, you use tools so that you can collaborate and build workflows together with, the outcomes of those things start to give you smarter data insights, and you can start, enhancing the relationships and advice together. And at the end of the day, we all want to save money, we want to accelerate our growth, and we want to, resolve those financial risks right together. So that's sort of, that little is on the back of a notepad type thing after losing a business that we, me and my co-founder, who also went through a few things, we sort of put together as a framework, and now that's sort of the framework of our ethos of our company and the product that we've built. So some key takeaways, just remember, just always ask your finance team, did they follow the internal processes, right? So, how do you process your invoices, and do you make sure purchase order numbers are on them? Do you use the one system to generate your invoices, or is it hand invoices getting done out of Word? Like, everyone's doing it differently, right? Expense claims validated. Are those bills checked for GST? Make people accountable for their job, I guess, as a business owner. It's about making those people that got to provide that information to your finance teams accountable for what they're given to them. Always ask being reconciled. My reports based on up-to-date real-time data. Don't be afraid to ask if it's been checked for accuracy. Sure, you ruffle some feathers, but there's too many transactions to think that people are going to get it right all the time, especially if you're trying to do it as a business owner yourself, right? You've got a great bookkeeper, sure, they're going to do a much better job than you. But stuff slips through, fraud comes through, things that you may never find may arise. So, ask if it's been checked for accuracy, consistency and validity. And are they using an AI automation kit, right, to just help with that, to make sure that nothing slips through. So key features we think are good to look for in a data quality toolkit. Look for something that audits your data regularly, like daily, right? You may not update your books daily, but you may. So have it scanned through your books regularly, right? It's just regular as you're going to look at your reports. If it's doing it daily, then you're going to be able to look at a report daily. It clearly gives you an understanding of why a data alert was raised and what might be the implications of it remaining unresolved. Make sure it saves you time and it helps you resolve things quickly. It has deep looks into your books, or it has auto-resolve features. It allows you to collaborate with your team, and it gives you peace of mind with real-time reports. So I guess, like, if you're considering, using data quality automation, just understand that, it will help you know that your data's up to date, it's accurate, it's consistent, and that your entries are valid. It'll help you ensure errors and anomalies or fraud are never be found, or that may never be found, are found early. It'll help you build a trusted relationship with your finance team. And it'll just allow you to have that peace of mind, knowing that you're making smarter decisions and when you're growing and protecting your business, right? Which is obviously the most important thing. That's why you run a business, to grow it. You need to protect it. In this day and age, just things happen. Small things can happen that can turn into big things. So that's a bit about data quality automation. I think at XBert we like to say, when people go, we like to say to them, what do you got to lose? And we sort of say at XBert, we'll show you. That's sort of what we do, right? So I think it's definitely worth, dipping your toe into the area and making sure that you connect your books up with some type of data quality automation toolkit. So that's me.